Okay, I guess we're good to go. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. This is, no surprise, my topic for this year. It's been forever my topic. Well, you know, I like to move things, set margins and paddings and stuff, so this is how you do it. So why am I talking about this again? What has changed? Well, Plone 6 is officially out, and we have been using Volto for some time. Some of us have been using Volto for longer than others, and some of us made some experience with it. For some other of us, it's the first time, I'm sure. Well, it will be as soon as you get out of this conference. So why am I talking about this? Because I don't like the way we have been doing theming in the first few years of Volto. So first of all, we have been doing theming in Volto by adding a bunch of stuff to a unique repository. We have been having so we had Volto code, styles, everything together. But what is everything? So basically, we're doing Volto, we're doing front end, and front end is theming, and front end is styling, right? Of course not. It's not just that. So Volto also defines features. Maybe can any one of you suggest features that Volto is actively adding to the CMS? If you have any ideas, any suggestions? Blocks is a good one. For example, Volto is setting the editor and blocks. And that's defined mainly in Volto. So how it works is defined in Volto. And you can customize stuff, add stuff in your add-ons and in your Volto project. But Volto is also adding control panels. Volto is adding middlewares from time to time. And maybe routes. So it's a lot of stuff going on in this front-end code together with theming. And I don't like that. So how can we make that better? So what we asked ourselves, this is not just me, this is something that has been discussed with the other people, with Victor, for example. What is the thought? What were we doing in the past? This is a simple one for most of you. What happened before Volto? You had add-ons with functionality, with features, and you had add-ons with themes. That's pretty straightforward. Core is like that as well with Barceloneta. So what should we do? Of course, I'm suggesting we have a theme as a separate add-on. And I am suggesting that to be your default way to go. You will find out that's easier. And why is that easier? I'm going to show you some things, and then we'll discuss pros and cons. So I am suggesting we should separate project configuration, which is build tooling, dev tooling, and stuff, from the theme. And also from reusable add-ons that we might have, for example, add-ons that add blocks. They can, and in my opinion, should be separate in your projects. So how would I do that? So after, where is it? Okay, so there is some basic scaffolding that you have to do to create an add-on. This is a few simple comments that some of you already know, and they are well documented in the documentation. And there is a generator for the scaffolding of add-ons, like there is one for a Volto project. So after this quick and easy scaffolding, the rest of the instructions are in the documentation, actually. So that's the main thing we have to do, right, from time to time. So read the documentation. And this is not to be salty or anything. This is actually a way for me to stress out that our docs are always improving. Plone 6 docs are way better, and they are getting better. And if I can take one moment to have a round of applause for all the people that care about documentation and actually write it, I'm not one of those. So thank you. This is how the actual theme add-on page looks like. I realized I didn't put any breadcrumbs or stuff in there, so you go into the documentation front end and Volto add-ons, and there's a page about theming in there. And it starts like this, and it's long, and I didn't want to put it up all in a screenshot. So I'm going to show you in a few steps what this means, and it's actually very simple. So basically, after you created your add-on, there's 3 steps. First, you have to configure your add-on to be a proper theme. And then you add it to your project like any other add-on. And then you have to add a simple line to your project to tell Volto, hey, my theme is in that specific add-on. So let's go through these steps. How do I configure my add-on to be a theme? So in your add-on, you create a theme director. You create a theme config file, same one that, like, it's very similar to the one that you already have in an empty Volto project. Actually, you can copy a proper one from the aforementioned documentation. And of course, you can customize it to your needs. And that's it. If needed, you can also customize the theme.js file. What's that? That's the main Volto file that imports your styles. So it's a file with a bunch of, I have an example here, yes. It's a file with a bunch of imports for styles and, in my case, typeface, like NPM packages that import typefaces. So this is how you can customize the core Volto theme.js file in order to add styles. For example, here I was adding typefaces and SCSS files. And this is the 2 steps plus this extra one, if you need it at all, to configure an add-on to be a theme. I also have an example of the theme config with the file tree, so you actually can see where it's put, but it's like src theme, and that's the theme.config is there. And Volto will know that your theme.config file is in this add-on instead of the one we're used to have in the Volto project, main root directory under the theme folder. So second step is add the add-on to your Volto project. And that's the regular. I mean, if you have worked with Volto and if you have created or used an add-on before, you install your add-on with Yarn or Mrs. Developer if you're developing it maybe. And then you add the add-on name to the add-ons key in package.json, and that's it. And that's like we have done it since we have an add-ons story. And the third was set your add-on as the project theme. So that's the new thing. There are 3 ways of doing it. There is the theme key you can add to package.json. That's how I usually do it, but it's irrelevant how you do it. It works the same way. So you basically add, and I will show an example, a string containing the add-on name. Or you can add it to your Volto config.js if you are using one, if you have one already. Or you can also add it as an environment variable. After doing this, you're all set. So you can actually delete your project theme folder, so the old way, the old one. And remember, there's one important thing. Only one theme can be active at any time. So this is an example of our biggest project's package.json. And the add-on there is the theme, the main theme, and it's set as an add-on and as a theme. And that theme actually has several add-on dependencies, and the way add-ons have almost always worked is that they get pulled in the add-ons list. So this is also actually brings in more add-ons, and that works seamlessly. So, why am I suggesting this? Why do I think this is the way to go? It's easy, of course, to set up, as I said, and what are the pros for this? So separation of concerns is one of my favorite pros of this kind of approach. Separation of concerns is, like you know from everything we do with our development work, is a big thing for several things. But my favorites are, it's easier to collaborate with your team, with other people. Easier code reviews, easier pull requests, easier, I don't know, maintenance of CI testing and stuff. Easier code, maybe code that's also easier to understand. And also this encourages add-on reuse. And this is something that we should always keep in mind. So you might have add-ons with functionality, like adding blocks, adding views for a new content type, adding control panels, and you might reuse that in several of your projects, because that's a nice feature that your client always, usually ask for. And you style them separately in your theme add-on. And you don't mix things up, and you live a happy life. Of course, there are cons to this. And so what are the cons? If you are using continuous integration, continuous deployment and stuff, that's an overhead that you have when you start a new add-on, because you have to set up maybe new continuous integration, separate testing story. It's not yet feature complete. The things we're missing are not that bad, and they can be worked around. My pain points are I cannot remove routes from an add-on. I cannot remove reducers from an add-on, as far as I know. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be. And I cannot put something in the public folder of my add-on and it doesn't get grabbed and used immediately. All these cons have easy workarounds, so I'm happy with them, and the pros outweigh the cons. Because the CI/CD overhead is actually something you set up once for your add-ons or for your themes, and so I'm happy with that, because I reuse all of that. And the other things you can still do in your specific Volto project if you need. So it's not perfect if you're using an add-on that requires one of these things. You have to copy-paste some code from project to project. Not perfect, but we can live with that, in my opinion. That's basically it. After you set up all of that, in your theme folder of your add-on, you can add all the styles that you want the same way that you used to do it before, if you used Volto already. Let me call it the old way. or if you're approaching Volto, the way you will see in trainings and documentation works here as well for writing styles. It's just a different path on your file system. And I could say that's it. And that's going to be good for most use cases. It's actually not all, because we have advanced usages as well. And what do I mean? You can customize your theme from other add-ons. You can write styles in other add-ons that are merged with your main theme. And why is this important? We have a couple use cases already in the community that I'll show you later. For basic themes that are adapted by changing variables or adding styles for different situations, like websites that are similar or for the same client, for example, that have similar features and similar styles with some additions. So there's one warning here. This feature only works if you're styling your theme with SCSS. How does it work? So the bundler of your application will create two aliases, which are, one of those is this one. It's long names, but it's good because so they are not, like they don't clash and conflict with other names you might have in your file system already for your themes. So it creates an alias for variables that you can add to your main SCSS styles file. You add it before the theme variables. So what is this? How does this work? Your Razzle actually will get from its own add-on registry, will get the list of all the add-ons that you have configured in your Volto project, and we'll look for a specific file with a specific name that I'll show you later, and we'll merge all the styles that are in those files, create a temporary file, import it with this name. So in your theme, the one we defined in the previous steps, you can write that import, and Volto will check if there are other add-ons that want to add or set variables, and will automatically inject those there. If there are none, it's fine. Same thing goes for styles, which have another alias that you can that you have to add at the end. So this is like, I'm saying you have to, because this is the suggestion, strong suggestion I'm making here. And that's because of how SCSS works. Of course, you want to add style customization at the end, because you have a main theme, and you add customization at the end, because CSS. But variables you want to add before the theme variables, because SCSS has the default key, and that's explained in the documentation. I won't go too deep into it. But you are allowed to define, you should define variables in your main theme with the default key in order for them to be easily overridable by the other things. And then you create specific add-ons for the specific website you're creating. They don't have to go through all the steps that I showed before, because there is only one theme, and that's the main theme. They just need to have these two files. This is where magic happens. Why do I say magic? Because you just create files with this name, and they are, all the files with these names in your add-ons are merged into the aliases that I explained earlier. And that's the trick for what I call the advanced usage. As I said, there are two examples already out there in the open using this approach. And I will show a little more details regarding the first one, which is the one I worked on. And there will be another talk. I have no clue when because I don't remember these kind of things. I think it's tomorrow. Victor is gonna have this, right? Is it tomorrow? Friday, of course, I'm wrong. About the second one with more examples and explanation. So basically, just to confirm what I was saying, so this is how the first one is built. So it has a theme folder in the source folder. In the top left corner, you can see it's the name of the main theme. And it has a main SCSS file, which is imported in the theme.js that I showed earlier on. And it has the variables import at the beginning and the styles import at the end. And 100 lines of other imports, because why not? And that's it. This is set up as to be a theme, as I explained earlier, and we have several, and by several I mean almost 100 client projects, and then that are based on this theme, and have for each one of them a specific extra add-on to customize some styles of the main theme. And this is how one of those look like. So this is a separate add-on, Fiorano theme, as said, as it shows in the top left corner. And it has almost no code in it. It has the magic src/theme/_main and _variables files. The main file is most of the times empty. Sometimes you need customizations, and I'll show a little example. And there's the variables there. So we define a few colors, and the theme is ready and customized. I showed these kind of themes in like most of the previous conferences. I won't go over why they're awesome again, but just this is the result. So the left one is a Volto site with only the main theme, and the ones on the right are the ones created by just adding those two magic files and changing variables in there. We find it pretty neat and useful. And one thing here is, I said I have talked about this in the previous conferences as well. This is true. What is changed is since, so up to last year, because this is, the new version has been like 8 months in the making. So up to last conference, this had a custom configuration with few hundred lines of Razzle and Webpack code in order to make this work. And then we joined forces with Git Concept for the two themes that I showed you. And Victor came up with this idea, and they came up with this idea, and we managed to join forces and exchange feedback and go one single path. And this is amazing that this happens, as they said in the keynote this morning. And this is why actually this community works, because we didn't stick with our own ideas. And now we have something that I think is amazing, and it's the way you should build your themes with Plone 6 from like starting at 11 a.m. this morning. So what's next is the thing, because this is one of the new additions in, it's 1 year, more or less than 1 year maybe, more or less 1 year that it's been there, and it's working really, really nice. We have these kind of things in production. First one was in January this year, so it's fine. So what's next? So there are a few features that are missing that I talked about earlier. I wrote this on my plane here, and because while preparing early on, right? So I wrote that we were missing CI/CD configuration from the generator. Then I arrived at my hotel, and that was not true anymore because Victor kindly released the new version of the generator. So that's not true. You also now have basic CI/CD configuration for tests in there. And we might want to add CI/CD examples for how to build production sites with these kind of themes to the documentation at some point. And, of course, we need your help. I'm telling you this is the way I would like you to do themes because I think this is the best. And if you actually do it, please give us feedback, any kind of feedback. You can give feedback starting from now, if you want. So if you have any questions or feedback about this idea and things that I said, please go ahead. And yeah, that's all from me.
Thank you. We have room for questions, if someone. Yeah.
Hi. Design Italia theme is open source, right? It can be, so that's a great example of, if anyone is interested, yeah, how to do this stuff, I guess.
Yeah, also, I have to say we have one town in Italy that is using it, and they didn't even tell us, and it's fine, because it's a pretty neat success story. They are using it, and we found out of nowhere while browsing. and so we're actually really happy about it. So it's working.
So another question. I played around a bit with this, also with another public theme now available, the Volto lighting. And what I noticed with playing around with it, you nearly have to keep in order. You already said it, oh, if you want to add some CSS, add some references here, but you really need to keep in order now all the add-ons and which ones are overwriting which other components and things, because if you make one small mistake there, then like me, for a beginning newbie in the whole JavaScript front-end world, you're just searching for why doesn't things work, why doesn't it override? I have the basic component, I have the Volto theme, the Volto component, I have an add-on, a theme component add-on there, and then I add my own custom stuff. Can you tell a bit more about that disordering? Because I think it's functional and it's chained, and you really need to keep that disordering clean.
Yeah. So, first things first, let me go back to the example, which is somewhere. But still, it's here, okay. So the way you add add-ons is in an array, okay. So everything like all the code in your add-ons is executed in the order that you put there. That you choose there. So that's for project configuration, and that's also for styles. So when Razzle creates those aliases that you add, it merges code from your add-ons, styles from your add-ons in the order that's defined there. And there's a dependency graph that's created beneath there, like inside there, because add-ons can have add-on dependencies, and that's nested. One thing I can say here is, I understand it might have been an issue from time to time for project configuration. Sometimes you override the same config.js keys there, and you have to find out how you imported add-ons. And I can see how that can be an issue for CSS even more. So actually, it's not been a big issue for me, because the way we do our theme is that 99% of the styles are in the main theme, and that's fine. There is no magic trick except going through your add-ons array order. But there is one new trick, and I encourage you to follow my CSS talk later today, that I'm explaining that in that talk, which is CSS cascade layers. This is a nice new feature. And that's a short version of that. You can define more, you can have more control over CSS cascading nowadays. It's something fairly new, but you can have like all the core styles first, all the add-ons, and then apply all your theme styles later. That helps. That could help.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you, Piero.
Thank you.
And now coffee will be served here in the lobby, so we'll be back at 11:20.